Hi, today we're going to be talking about citations. This module is all about how to use research in your papers and, more importantly, how to account for it through those different citational means. There's a lot to go over, which you're going to be doing through your reading, but I wanted to start with this short video just to give you a sense of what exactly you'll be looking at. Now, when we use research, it's very important to account for it because we don't want to be guilty of plagiarism, even accidentally, of course. And with the urban legend essay, you're going to be using your own thoughts, the urban legend, and your other library sources to create a whole synthesis of ideas. So you want to make sure that you're using everything effectively and appropriately. Okay? Now, when we use research, there's two types of citations that we're going to be concerned with. Those are bibliographic citations and in-text citations. Now, bibliographic citations are your works cited page or your references page if you're using APA. We're using MLA style, which you'll do plenty of reading about, but that's the works cited page, which I'm sure you've all done at some point, where you give the full information about a source at the end of the paper so your reader can go find anything that you are referencing. And you give all that information so that it's easy to find. Now, the other type of citation are in-text or parenthetical citations. That's in the paper, where you, right after you quote or you paraphrase, you include a brief citation, usually an author's last name, sometimes the title if there is no author listed, so that the reader can just go to your works cited page and know which source you were referencing. Then they go find everything else. If you tried to drop the whole citation right there in the middle of the paper every time you quoted or paraphrased, your paper would be very long, boring, and cumbersome, which is not what we want. Okay? Now, when we talk about citing, okay, you need to cite everything you get from a source with just a few exceptions. Okay? Now, anytime you use the exact wording from a source, you have to cite it because you're using somebody else's wording. Okay? But sometimes you get ideas from a source or information that you don't need to cite. Okay? And that's if it is common knowledge. Okay? If something qualifies as common knowledge that a typical educated person would know, or something that you could easily look up in a basic reference source like an encyclopedia, even if you yourself did not know it commonly, then you do not need to cite that. Okay, and on page 363 of Quick Access Compact, they talk about some of these, but some examples. Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin. That's a basic fact, common knowledge. You don't need to cite that if you read it somewhere. Similarly, Neptune, the 8th planet, is named after the Roman god of the seas. This is also something that is common knowledge that even if you yourself did not remember that or didn't know it, you glanced at it just to give yourself a good attention getter, for instance, you don't need to cite the encyclopedia you got it from because that can be found in any number of reference sources. It's not anybody's intellectual property. Okay? But something like Eli Whitney's invention of the cotton gin was a major cause of the Civil War. This all of a sudden is getting into analysis. This is historical writing that is not just a simple fact. This is somebody giving their thoughts on something, doing an analysis. So you would have to cite that. You'd have to give credit to that. Or talking about the declassification of Pluto as a planet is in line with modern astronomical definitions. Once again, this is much higher type of information than just saying that Neptune is named after a Roman god. Okay, so once you start getting into intellectual property, work that somebody has done of thinking and analyzing, you have to give credit, just like you guys deserve credit for the things you write and think of. You wouldn't want somebody stealing your ideas. And remember, with wording, you always need to cite that. Okay? But the rest of these activities, as I mentioned, are going to be giving you more information on how to go about using research, how to cite it. But for now, just keep in mind that if it's common knowledge, it's okay to incorporate it. But pretty much any time that you use something from a source, even if you're not quite sure, it's better to be safe than sorry. You should go ahead and cite it. And of course, you can always ask me any questions if you have them.